Welcome to Digital Learning, an initiative of Directorate of Collegiate Education, Government of Karnataka. The lesson First Generation School Goers by Dr. R. Balasubramaniam is prescribed for third semester BCom General English, Bengaluru North University. In the language component pertaining to that lesson are two types of letters. One is writing a complaint letter and the other replying to a complaint letter. So this session will deal with the revision aspects of both the lesson and the language component. I am Nandana NG, Assistant Professor of English, Government First Grade College, Bagepalli. First, let us have a revision of the book. The book is an extract from the book I, the Citizen, are development initiatives at the grassroots level. The author has written a book by the name I, the Citizen. This particular essay, the part of it which is provided in the textbook, is an extract from his book I, the Citizen. It shows the author's endeavor, his social concern, how he has always been wanting to do something for society. Even when he was 19 years old, he established the Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement inspired by the teachings of Swami Vivekananda. Though a medical doctor by profession, yet he always wanted to do something for the society. So the school is in fact a byproduct of his social concern. It shows how a development initiative takes a lot of struggle and how at the grassroots level starting a school is not an easy task. When the school was initiated in 1988 in a hamlet called Brahmagiri, the author along with a few like-minded people found it very difficult to convince the tribal people to send their children to school. They had started a school, the government had given them the permission, but with no infrastructure available, they had to start the school in a cowshed. The first batch which started school in 1988 had 28 students in the school. And the author became aware of all the difficulties that were related to starting a school. In fact, he mentions it in the introduction that when they began the school, they realized that none of them have had any experience of actually starting an educational institution. So in fact, the starting the school was also an experience for the author and his like-minded companions. And then he narrates the introduction of school in tribal community, how education versus schooling was debated upon through the various anecdotes in the book. There are two primary anecdotes that are mentioned in the text. Both the anecdotes or both the incidents involve tribal children, particularly one boy called Manju, a 7-year-old tribal boy. His maturity is displayed in both the incidents. At the end of both the incidents, the author questions himself. In fact, he is perplexed. When children are so mature and they already have so much of inherent knowledge, what is the point of dumping unwanted education on them? This question starts haunting the author at the end of the session. The beginning of the school was in a hamlet named Brahmagiri in 1988. As mentioned before, the first batch of students were 28 in number. There are two incidents which portray the tribal children's values and the vast knowledge of nature and forest. In the first incident, the midday meal was introduced in the school. The teachers came up with the idea of introducing midday meal for the tribal children who have traveled from far distance to attend school. As they were small children, they did not have the heart to send them back empty stomach. So the teachers came up with the initiative of a midday meal where the teachers and the students would come together and try to source vegetables that were available easily in the forest, put together or collect some firewood and cook meal for the afternoons, and which would be had with all teachers and students sitting together. The menu usually comprised of ragi balls and sambar. The students and the teachers were very interested. In fact, they thoroughly enjoyed the experience. They divided the various tasks associated with midday meal amongst themselves. Thus, as a result, a few of the students would go to the forest in search of firewood and vegetables available for preparing sambar, while a few more would take the task of molding the ragi ball into small ragi balls there, or mudde. While after the food was done with, or after the midday meal was finished, a few more students would also take up the task of cleaning the campus. The author mentions that the entire midday experience or the time that it took was more than the academic session, but then it was thoroughly enjoyed by both the students and the teachers, as the students became close to the teacher through the interaction. In one such incident, it was the turn of 7-year-old tribal boy Manju to prepare ragi balls for that day. He had to prepare 28 ragi balls. On the morning of that day, the author saw Manju come into the school campus along with his kid sister Sunanda. The moment the author saw Manju with another child with him, the first thought that came to the author's mind was another mouth to feed, but then he did not voice it aloud. He wanted to see what Manju would do or how many muddes he would do. But then, when lunchtime arrived, all the children were seated, and the author realized to his surprise that Manju had actually prepared only 28 ragi balls. He had not prepared an extra ragi ball for his sister. This aroused the curiosity of the author, and to add further curiosity or to add much to the surprise there, Manju seated he seated his kid sister next to him and broke his ragi ball, the one in his plate, and gave a part of it to his sister. When the author saw the boy doing this, he was taken aback, and he called Manju after lunch and asked him as to why he did not prepare an extra ragi ball for his sister. Manju's reply still resonates in the author's ears. Manju, a small tribal boy, 7-year-old boy, gave a very profound and mature reply. He said, as his parents had gone to the local shandy to sell bamboo ware, they had left his kid sister as his responsibility. But Manju did not want to miss school, so he brought the girl along. But then he did not want to impose the burden of bringing his sister to his classmates. He did not want to take their food to feed his sister. So he said, as I had brought my sister, it is my responsibility to feed her. So I shared my food with her. I did not want to deprive my classmates of their food. When Manju gave such an answer in a profound and a simple manner, the author had tears in his eyes. He was moved to tears. He says, when a boy has so much of maturity, then what is the use of further education? So he says, it should not be at the cost of making the tribal children unlearn what they already know. There is another incident there wherein the teachers gave a task to the children to go and collect various leaves from all the available trees in the campus. All the children went for an hour or so, and after an hour they came back trickling one by one. Many children had collected more than 5 to 10 leaves, while a few had collected more than 30 to 50 leaves each from different tree. But the surprising aspect to the teachers were 7-year-old Manju, the same Manju who was profound in his wisdom in the midday meal incident. This boy came back with 70 leaves in his hand, 70 different leaves from 70 different trees. Not only that, he was able to explain each and every leaf and to what was the name of the tree. This much of knowledge in a 7-year-old tribal boy, the teachers were surprised. They said, when a boy has so much of knowledge, we should not make them forget it. In fact, the education should add to it. So the author says, focus on the importance of indigenous knowledge, values, ethos, and philosophy should be on par with the school education. The formal school provides an opportunity to acquire skills to integrate with mainstream society. Yes, this school is providing an opportunity for the tribal children to be integrated in the mainstream society, but it doesn't mean that whatever indigenous knowledge that they already have, that should be erased. It should not be at the cost of making the tribal children unlearn what they already know. In fact, whatever knowledge already the children possess, that should be further enhanced through the course of formal education. So the author is of the opinion that schooling should not interfere with inherent education. The two incidents portray the tribal children's values and the vast knowledge of nature and the forest that they possess without even stepping into the formal education or the school campus. Coming to the language aspect, there are two types of letters provided in the language component. The first being the complaint letters. Complaint letters are business letters usually written when you have to bring or bring to the notice the errors in the execution of orders to the notice of the seller. For example, you have placed an order, the order has been executed, but then it is not of the required quality or the quantity. You have already paid for the product. So at that point, you write a letter with a very cordial and polite tone indicating the error that has occurred in the execution of the order. You not only bring it to the notice of the seller, but you also demand the rectification. But please be aware, the tone throughout the letter should be polite and cordial. Now, the second part of the letter writing is writing a reply to a complaint letter. Now that a complaint letter has been sent to the company regarding the error in the execution, upon receiving such a letter, how should the company react? The company or the salesperson should thank the customer for bringing it to the notice of them, and then regret for the inconvenience. Yes, sorry always works. You should first accept that a mistake has occurred. You should mention the immediate measure that needs to be taken to correct the mistake, and also trying to find the cause of the mistake, and try to mention the steps that needs to be taken for the prevention in recurrence. So both the letters, our business letters, are important letters. The first being a complaint letter, wherein you bring to the notice of the seller the error that had occurred during the execution of order and expect some sort of rectification of the error. In a reply letter to the complaint letter, you thank the customer for bringing it to your notice, you regret for the inconvenience, and you also apologize and you try to find the cause of the mistake, and also promise them that the same mistake will not occur again in the future. Coming to the test, the concerned teachers in the college will conduct the test. Assignment: consult the teacher concerned. References used for this session: